So you just got a Livescope unit and you're looking for the best settings to go out and catch bass or some other type of fish. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over my favorite settings to catch more fish with Garmin Livescope. Okay, so this has probably been one of my most requested videos. By far, not even close. A lot of people want to learn how to use their Livescope unit, but don't know the best settings to go out and catch fish. And so in this video, I'm going to dive into some of my favorite settings that will make it a little bit easier on you, at least to get started using the Garmin Livescope unit and to go find fish with it. So I want to start off by saying that it's not super critical that you get your unit crazy dialed in, especially when you're first getting started. Actually, to this day, the biggest 5-fish limit of bass I've ever caught was using the stock settings on a Livescope unit, a Garmin 93 SV, one of the smaller units. I've since upgraded. I use a 1242 now, but some of the best days I've had on the water was when I was still using stock settings. I'm not really into getting too crazy with these units. I was never a big electronics guy before this, so I try to keep it as simple as possible. That way I don't spend all my time on the water, at least as little of it as possible, trying to tune in my unit. And you know, there is things that you can do throughout the day to make your picture better, but don't stress too much about your settings, because you can catch fish using it stock and you can catch fish well. But there are a few tips and tricks I can give you guys to dial in your unit and make it just a little bit better, to give you a little bit of an edge when there's other people out on the water using the same unit that may help you find fish a little bit easier. So let's dive right into it. I'm just gonna get into a few of the settings that I changed from stock and maybe try to explain a little bit of why I do it, if I can, just to help you guys understand and maybe help you dial it in even better than I know how. I got some notes here, a few things, and you guys might see my breath. It is a little bit cold in this shop right now. We're gonna go ahead and dive into it, just try to give you guys the best information I can give you, and maybe you can expand on it from there. Now, these are my basic settings and I do change them, and I'll try to explain some of them as I go of when and why I'm changing them. But for the most part, I try to leave it as is all the time if I can, just so I don't overcomplicate things. But the first and probably the most important setting you're going to want to play with and you will use the most often is going to be your gain. I try to keep my gain around 70, 71, 72, and that changes throughout the day. So early in the morning, I may have to back off that gain a little bit just so I get a clearer picture when I'm out fishing, because in low light conditions, your screen will get blurry. That may cause you some problems. I know a lot of people want it to be crystal clear, but I try to keep that gain around 70, 71, 72. I may get it down into the mid 60s in the morning or in the evening when it's really dark. But that seems to be the sweet spot. I want to get that gain tuned up just far enough where my screen starts to go from crystal clear to blurry. That seems to be the best picture and makes it the easiest to pick out fish on the unit. That's just my personal preference. I'm no expert at this by any means, but I have got this is my third full winter, I guess, that I've got to use the Livescope unit. So I've put some hours in. I've definitely put in over 1,000 hours buying that unit without a doubt. That seems to be my favorite. Next, let's dive in to the depth. Now, a lot of people like to set the depth on auto. I'm not a fan. I don't prefer it that way. I like to keep it where I'm always changing it manually. And I don't know about all the units, but on mine, I can get it where I click the button, the main button a few times. I can turn that up, down, depending on where I'm fishing, especially if I'm fishing on channel edges, things like that. I don't want my graph always trying to adjust, going up and down. And it's going to help me be able to tell what the size of the fish that I'm looking at is. If it's constantly changing, your eyes are trying to adjust and your brain's trying to adjust to the different depths, that can make it a little weird to see what you're looking at and knowing the size of what you're looking at. So I try to keep it at a pretty consistent depth, 2 to 5 feet further down than what the bottom is. That way I have a little bit of wiggle room, but it's not constantly adjusting when I scan up or I drift up on a channel edge and my graph isn't constantly going up and down. Just, that's my preference. Some people love to leave it on auto, and if you're fishing a steady depth all the time, if you're sitting out in 20 feet of water and you're not going to be looking up or drifting uphill or downhill, that way it's constantly changing, then you can leave it in auto. and some people prefer it, but I like to leave it in manual mode. Okay, next, let's dive into how far I like to keep it forward. I've seen a lot of differing opinions on this, and I'm not going to say mine is the correct one, but I prefer to leave my Livescope unit at about 60 feet. Now I will change that, you know, and it's completely different when you're chasing crappie or something like that. You're going to want to dial that in as you get up close to fish. But for chasing bass, especially around timber and stuff, I do like to leave it out at about 60. Sometimes I'll get it out to 80 to 100 when I'm searching, but it seems like most of the time I leave it in that 60 range and it really works out just fine. I don't have any problems. That's where I get the best clarity. Once I start getting out past that, especially if I'm out in deep water, I can't see the fish as well. So a lot of the time they sneak up on you, but I do try to keep it at a consistent range. That way I'm comfortable. I know where I'm casting. I don't have to be constantly adjusting. I see a fish and I can make that appropriate cast that I've got the muscle memory to do. Now, like I said, that's my preference. If you're crappie fishing or something like that, you may set it at 80 feet, find a fish and dial it in as you're getting closer. But for most of the stuff I do personally, I'm going to leave it at about 60 foot all the time. The next thing I want to adjust when I'm tinkering with my Livescope unit is going to be the color gain. That seems to be really important on getting the right clarity, and that also goes in with how far you turn up your gain. I set my gain at 70 because I have it balanced out with my color gain, which I do try to tune up to about 85 generally. Now, that'll change day to day, lake to lake, but normally that's a pretty good range to start in. Set it about 85. I like to keep it in that amber screen color. There are better screens, and I have not tinkered enough, to be honest, with the different screens. And you may want to change from that amber when you're going to, you know, different types of structure may show up better. Most of the time I'm fishing standing timber, and that amber colorway seems to be the best for me to help me pick out fish in the timber, things like that. But just make sure you get that color gain set up to about 85, turn it up, amber screen, and you're good to go. Okay, the next thing I want to dive into, and these last two are some that I think a lot of people skip over, but they're very important when you're tinkering with a unit to get it to perform the best that it can. The first one is going to be the TVG. Now, TVG is a time varying gain. I don't know exactly what it does, to be completely honest. I'm not an electronics expert. I just know the settings that work best for me. Now, this TVG seems to affect the clarity in different depths that you're fishing. I generally, for the lakes that I fish, keep it in low. This is going to help me get the best picture. It's going to help with the dead spots in your screen. And I don't know what it is about it. Like I said, I don't know what it does, but I know that it helps with the clarity of the unit, especially when you're fishing up shallow. I like to keep it on low, and you will adjust it as you get deeper. It seems that if you turn that up higher, it's going to help when you get out fishing for fish and, you know, 30, 40 foot of water. You may want to adjust that TVG, but when you're fishing up sub 20, it seems like it's good on low. But you will need to tinker with it if you're fishing on a body of water where you're catching fish, you know, 30, 40, 50 feet deep. You will have to adjust that TVG in that scenario. And last but not least is going to be the noise reject. I turn my noise reject on high. This helps with the clarity of the screen. It's going to help me get a better picture when I'm out fishing. It's just one of the little settings that I've tinkered with that seems to help the clarity when I'm searching for fish with the Livescope unit. And I think it's one that a lot of people overlook when they're going through their unit. And that's going to be it. I wanted to keep this video short and sweet for you guys. I know I could have drawn this out for 30 minutes, but I didn't want to hold you guys captive. But these are the best settings that I've seemed to have figured out while using the Livescope unit the last couple of years. They've helped me catch a lot of fish, and like I said, you can start on the stock settings, and you can catch fish on it. It's not going to be a problem. You can see, but I've noticed, especially unit to unit, can be a little bit different. You're going to want to tinker with it and get the best quality picture you can, especially for what you're paying when you're getting the Livescope set up. So those are my best settings. Like I said, I don't claim to be an expert on any of this. This is just what I've learned through the last couple of years, and I hope that I can pass that information on to you guys to help you guys have a better time on the water and hopefully catch more fish. The Livescope unit's just been incredible to me. I've caught some of the biggest fish and the biggest bags of my life the last couple of years because of it. And if you can figure out how to use it, it can help you on any body of water. It's just an incredible tool, but I hope these settings helped you guys and help you guys catch more fish. I think that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment sections. I'll try to get back to you guys and help you with any settings or anything I can. But that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.